Hello again. Is remember that we are creating our toolpath actually by using the contour toolpath for and create our finishing process. And after that, I am and I also thinking about and that stuff here. This part is also and quite important for the finishing process. So there is no any degree here when I am look at the top view actually. You're gonna see this some arc here. So that's why and I prefer to change my linking parameters. I'm gonna turn back here and then we just need to make that 0. And then let me talk about here. This is the 2 millimeters. When I am turned to cut parameters actually, it can also turn to the ramp and then we can prefer to use the depth. And as a depth distance, we can prefer to use the 3 millimeter. And then we can also unselect and linearization parameters. And then after that, I can change to stock to leave on the walls with 0. And then we can also make them 0 as well. As a final, we can make the pass at final depth actually repeat and the one and cycling process for the final depth. And then I just need to hit to calculate my toolpath. And then we're gonna see and actually that's kind of progress. For actually and when we focus on this approach, I need to change to my geometry. That geometry can be deleted. And then we can recalculate our toolpath. And then actually I just need to copy that toolpath and paste it here. And then we need to change geometry, delete this one and add this one. And then actually I need to turn back to parameters and linking parameters, and then we can change top of stock parameters. And then that's it. We can calculate our toolpath. So you can also see that actually there is a little tricks and here. And when we focus on actually our linking parameters is, as you remember that I prefer to use the absolute. So when we turn to my parameters and my feed rate, actually, you can see that my rapid movement is cancelled here. After that, we're gonna see some leading process. So we can also use plunge feed rate, as you remember. This is the tool and plunge feed rate can be seen here. So that is a quite time consuming and process. So we also handle this stuff. So to handle this stuff, I'm gonna turn back to here and make them incremental here. When I make this incremental, actually we prefer to use actually this geometry. Is that right? So according to this geometry, we can also decide our actually fit plane Z position. Or we can also turn to absolute and MasterCAM absolute position. We also know that what is our top of stock. And then we just need to turn back here and make that 0.15 as absolute. So after that, we're gonna see that's kind of solution. We're gonna move to the and with the rapid movement and at this point, and then we can after that we can repeat our actually cycling process. So that's quite important. Okay, that part is quite and effective way, I think. When I am look at here, we can also see that this is actually ramp toolpath can be seen here. This is the ramp toolpath. And then we can also see that final depth is can be also seen here. This is our final depth. Okay. So after that, actually we can easily turn back to our and pocket parameters. We can copy that toolpath and paste it here, and then let me check all the chain here. This one and this one is gonna be left, and this one and this point and this circle. Okay, I also need the circle, sorry, and can turn back here and add my circle here again. Okay, that's enough. And after that, I can turn back to my parameters to change my tool. My tool can be 10 millimeter diameter. And then as a cut parameters, we can make them 0 to 0. This is going to be my final process actually. So when I am turned to roughing process, we can also change our step over. Our step over can be and the 20% of my tool diameter. And then we can also turn to the entry motion, and then we can cancel it. Okay, we don't need any process. Okay, let me turn to the linking parameters. And before that, actually, we can also turn to the depth cut. I don't want to see any depth cut. We only gonna have one step actually. So after that, we can turn to the incremental, and we can turn to absolute, sorry, and minus 56 and minus 55. Okay, so at that point actually we only have one step, so top of stock and the depth distance is not important. So I just need to click here, and then you're gonna see our toolpath. Okay, let me cancel that toolpath and activate this one, and we're gonna see that's kind of toolpath. So that is actually going to be our final toolpath for our progress. Actually, if you also want that, you can also see the sum and actually some entry progress here, but it is not important. You can also see that stuff here, but it's not important. We also create some and the contour finishing process. If you also would like to add and extra finishing process, you can turn to the roughing and finishing process. You can activate your finishing process. It can be and 1 millimeter for spacing or 0.2 millimeter maybe spacing. And we can also, maybe it's not important and I don't want to activate my lead in and lead out process. And when I am click here, we can also see that's kind of cleaning process. So that's also quite important if you want. Actually, it's not necessary because we already create our contour toolpath. Anyway, yeah, that's it. Then that is all our process. Let me use the save button. Okay, after that, let me check all my simulation. You already know that we are creating our and stock setup, and then we can focus on our actually process. So this is going to be my roughing process actually, and then we can also see the and our finishing process. Yeah, this is going to be my final product actually. After that, it's also possible to create and that's channel, okay, to be able to understand the and width of this channel. Maybe we should turn to the 3D, and then we can also create and some curve here, and blue one, and then we can also select this one. Yeah, it's done. And after that, we can also use actually line closed and this one and this one. And after that, we can easily analyze this one. This is the actually 12.5 millimeter. So it means that we can use our 10 millimeter tool for our finishing process. So to be able to handle this stuff, we can use, and actually contour toolpath I think is enough. Of course, while we are using the contour toolpath, we can select this one first, this step, okay? And then you just need to hit OK button. And then this tool can be used. And then we can turn to the linking parameters. When we turn to linking parameters as a top of stock, we can prefer to this point. This is the minus 66. And then as a depth, I can select this one. It's okay. Yeah, this one is selected. So this is my cutting area. So that's why we can write and minus 60 or minus 64 as a fit plane, absolute coordinate system. And then if you would like to, and you know that we are selecting this geometry, as you remember that this is minus 66 position. So that's why we can easily turn to incremental and make them 1. So this is similar. Okay. That is the and quite good example to understand the absolute and incremental coordinate system. I can prefer to use incremental 1 or absolute minus and 65. Okay, both of them is same. So after that, let me turn to the cut parameters. It can be where, and then after that we can prefer to use as a, and the compensation direction we can prefer to use the right. Okay, we can also prefer to use ramp, and then maybe we should select 1 millimeter for ramp depth, and then we can also activate final depth options. Actually, I don't want to use, and actually depth cut is not active right now because of we prefer to use ramp. Okay, don't forget that stuff. And then we can turn to the leading, and then we're gonna make our and the radius maybe 50% of to my tool diameter, and then it's gonna calculate 0.5 millimeter. And then let me hit OK button to calculate my toolpath. Okay, almost forgot. I need to turn back to parameters, and then we can also activate this one. So we're gonna see our starting point from there. So that's not so good. You know that. Okay. So I need to prefer to and the midpoint of the close contour, and then we're gonna see that this is my lead in and this is gonna be my lead out process. And after that, we can copy our toolpath and paste it here. We can turn to the geometry and delete this chain and add new one, and then I can easily add this chain. And then we can also hit OK button, and then another OK button here. And then let me turn to the parameters. We need to change our cut parameters. My compensation direction can be on the left side, not right side. Okay, so we're gonna see that's kind of approach here. Okay, that's perfect. And end of this section, we're gonna see our final position. If you would like to use some and roughing and finishing process, you can also copy that toolpath, and then maybe you can also create and the new tool here. It's also possible. Anyway, this is our finishing process. After that section, we're gonna finalize our 2D toolpath. Okay, and thank you very much. I'm gonna hit the save button. Okay, I really appreciated your interest. Don't hesitate to ask me any question. I'm here to answer your question. Thank you very much.